Welcome to the Daily Health Hack, your source for quick and effective tips to boost your well-being. In just 10 minutes each day, we'll share simple hacks for nutrition, fitness, and mental wellness. Join us to empower your health journey. Let's dive into today's hack.
Ever get that feeling like, where to put my keys again? What if I told you it might be connected to how often you floss?
Seriously?
It sounds crazy, right? But get ready to dive into the link between your oral health and your brain. Because we're discovering it's about way more than just a bright smile.
It really is. It's about protecting your brain power, too. And it's a connection, honestly, that we've overlooked for far too long.
Yeah.
So today, we'll be unpacking some groundbreaking research about this link. Specifically, how taking care of your mouth can actually benefit your brain.
Okay, I'm intrigued already. We're talking memory, focus, even preventing some pretty serious conditions down the line, right?
Absolutely. And the really fascinating part is that there are several pathways. You could almost think of it as a network, a highway system connecting your oral health to your brain.
A highway system, okay. Now I'm picturing tiny toothbrushes, like driving to my brain.
Well, not quite, but you do have these different routes, okay? So one is what we call the bacterial pathway. You see, your mouth is home to all sorts of bacteria. Now, some bacteria are good, but there are some real troublemakers too, right?
Right.
And research has found that a specific type of bacteria called Porphyromonas gingivalis, which is, by the way, the main culprit behind gum disease, has been discovered in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease.
Wow.
In fact, a shocking 96% of the brain samples from deceased Alzheimer's patients had this bacteria.
96%. So wait, are you saying that if I neglect my gums, there's a chance I'm increasing my risk of developing Alzheimer's?
So it's still an active area of research. However, there's definitely a connection. Scientists believe that these bacteria can travel either through the bloodstream or even get this sneak in through nerves connecting your mouth and brain, like the trigeminal nerve. And they cause inflammation along the way.
So it's not just about having a clean mouth. It's about stopping those bacteria from going AWOL in my brain and causing havoc.
Precisely.
Okay.
There are other routes too. Okay.
It's not just the one. It's like think of it this way. Imagine a small fire, right? But it's contained to a fireplace. That's manageable. But if that fire spreads and smoke starts billowing throughout your house, different story, right?
Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. So what does that have to do with my mouth?
Okay, so think of gum disease as that fire I was just talking about.
Yeah.
The inflammation it causes. Well, it doesn't just stay put in your mouth. Instead, it releases these inflammatory molecules called cytokines into your bloodstream. They're like the smoke spreading through a house, right?
Right.
And these cytokines can even cross the blood-brain barrier, which, as you know, is like a protective shield for your brain. And once they're in, they can contribute to all sorts of cognitive problems.
So it's like my gums have a direct line to my brain, and if things are inflamed down there, my brain feels the heat too.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It's amazing how interconnected our bodies really are. It really is. And thankfully, it's not all doom and gloom, because the good news is that you actually have more control over this than you might think. Okay, give me some good news. I'm all about taking control, especially when it comes to my brain. So what can I do? Lay it on me.
Well, it might sound pretty simple, but honestly, good oral hygiene, it goes a long way.
Okay.
And when we say good, I mean, diligent, consistent. We're talking brushing at least twice a day, flossing every single day, using mouthwash. These habits, they all become crucial in kind of breaking those bacterial pathways we were talking about.
So I need to step up my game, make it a routine, not I'll do it when I remember kind of thing.
Exactly. And, remember how we talked about Porphyromonas gingivalis, that bacteria, and its linked to Alzheimer's?
Yeah.
Well, studies are suggesting that by reducing this bacteria in your mouth, you might actually slow down the disease's progression.
Okay, well, that's motivation enough for me to up my flossing game right there. But
Yeah.
What about that inflammation we talked about, the one that spreads through the body like wildfire? Can good oral hygiene help with that too?
Absolutely. When you reduce inflammation in your mouth, you're essentially lowering the overall inflammatory load on your entire body,
Got it.
including your brain.
So it's like turning down the heat, giving my brain a break from all that smoke.
Precisely. And you know what else?
What? Tell me more.
By improving your gum health, you're also improving your vascular health, believe it or not.
Hold on. How does that work?
So remember that highway system we were talking about earlier with all the different routes?
Yeah.
Well, good vascular health basically makes sure that those roads stay clear for blood flow to the brain.
Okay, I'm with you.
No traffic jams.
So it's like clearing those traffic jams, right? The ones caused by that plaque buildup.
Yes. Improving your vascular health through, you guessed it, good oral hygiene reduces your risk of stroke, cognitive decline, because essentially it allows for those essential nutrients, that oxygen, to actually reach the brain.
This is just getting better and better. I'm starting to think that taking care of my mouth is as important as, exercising and eating healthy.
Well, it's all connected. And there's more.
No way. What else?
Studies actually show that people with better oral health, they tend to perform better on memory and cognitive function tests.
So brushing my teeth could help me remember where I left my phone finally.
Well, it's not quite that simple,
Okay.
but there is a connection. Good oral hygiene, it helps to protect those key brain regions, the ones that are responsible for those memory and cognitive functions.
Like giving my brain the VIP treatment.
There you go. And the research is clear. There was even a study, and this one found that brushing just once a day was linked to a lower risk of developing dementia.
Once a day. Okay, I can manage that. But what about those of us who, haven't been so diligent with the whole flossing thing? Is it too late for us?
It's never too late. Really, it's not. Our bodies are incredibly resilient. Healing, adaptation, it's possible at any age.
Okay, that's a relief. But I imagine starting sooner rather than later is best, right?
Exactly. It's like any aspect of health, really. Prevention is key. And, it's never too late to start investing in your oral health. And by doing so, you're investing in your brain health, too.
Love it. So we've covered the good. Now, what about the not so good? What are the real risks when we talk about neglecting oral health, specifically when it comes to my brain?
Right. So we touched on the link between gum disease and Alzheimer's, but I think the statistics really paint a clear picture. Remember that study we mentioned? The one that found porphyromonas gingivalis in Alzheimer's patients?
Yeah.
They found it in 96% of the brain samples.
96%. Yeah, that number kind of stuck with me from earlier, and it's pretty alarming, to be honest.
It is. And on top of that, gum disease, it also significantly increases your risk of stroke.
Really?
Because of, the clogged arteries, just like we were talking about. Studies have actually shown that having severe gum disease increases your risk of having a stroke by 2.4 times.
2.4 times. Wow, that's incredibly serious.
It is serious. And it's not just about the stroke itself, It's also about the potential for lasting brain damage.
Oh, right.
Which, that can have a huge impact on your cognitive function, your memory, your overall quality of life.
So it's a domino effect. It's not just about preventing the initial event. It's about protecting ourselves from those long-term consequences, too.
Exactly. And even if, thankfully you don't experience something as severe as a stroke, that chronic inflammation that comes from gum disease, it still takes a toll.
I'm starting to realize now I never really understood how harmful that inflammation could be.
Well, inflammation is our body's natural response to injury or infection, right? But when it becomes chronic, it's like your body is stuck in overdrive. And this constant state of inflammation, it can actually speed up the aging process, including the aging of your brain.
Hold on. Are you saying that inflammation from gum disease can actually make my brain age faster?
Well, that's essentially what the research is pointing to, yes. Studies show a very clear link between chronic inflammation, especially the kind that comes from gum disease, and an increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. So it's not just about those big events like Alzheimer's or stroke, it's about protecting your brain from that slow burn of chronic inflammation.
Like my mom always says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Exactly. Every time you brush and floss, think of it as self-care for your brain.
Oh, I love that. I'll definitely be looking at my toothbrush in a whole new light now. Are there other brain-related risks associated with poor oral health, though? Or is it just Alzheimer's and stroke?
That's a great question. And, it really highlights how much we're still learning in this field. This research, it's ongoing. What we've talked about today, it might just be the tip of the iceberg.
Wow. So what's next? What are scientists most interested in figuring out? Give me the inside scoop.
Okay, well, one area that has a lot of researchers really excited is the potential role of what's called the oral microbiome in a much wider range of neurological conditions. We've already touched on Parkinson's, but there are potential links being investigated between oral health and other neurodegenerative diseases like ALS, Huntington's disease, even multiple sclerosis.
Wow. So these same bacteria that cause gum disease, could they be connected to these other serious conditions as well?
That's what scientists are trying to find out. It's early days, of course, but if it's confirmed, it could revolutionize how we approach both the prevention and treatment of these really devastating diseases.
It's amazing to think that something as simple as oral hygiene, could have such a major impact. It's like we're only just beginning to understand how truly interconnected our bodies really are.
You got it. And another area of really intense research right now is the connection between, get this, the oral microbiome, the gut microbiome, and the brain. Remember how we talked about the gut-brain axis earlier?
Yes. Okay, remind me how that all ties together again.
Right. So your gut, it's home to trillions of bacteria, and they're collectively called your gut microbiome, which plays a crucial role in your overall health, right? We're talking digestion, your metabolism, your immune system, even your mood.
Yes. And we're learning more and more about just how important a healthy gut microbiome is for our overall well-being.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. The bacteria in our mouths can actually influence the makeup and function of our gut microbiome.
Wait, so you're saying the bacteria in my mouth are like talking to the bacteria in my gut?
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
So it's all thanks to what's called bacterial translocation.
Okay.
Now, it sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward. So when you have gum disease, those harmful bacteria, well, they can actually enter your bloodstream through your inflamed gums.
So they're like tiny invaders, just like sneaking across enemy
Yeah,
lines.
Exactly. And once they're in the bloodstream, they can travel throughout your body, potentially reaching your gut and then disrupting the balance of your gut microbiome.
So the bad bacteria from my mouth are setting up camp in my gut and causing all sorts of trouble.
You got it. And when your gut microbiome is out of balance, well, it can then send signals to the brain. And those signals, they impact mood, they impact cognition, even behavior.
This is blowing my mind. Okay, so taking care of my teeth and gums could improve my gut health, which could then improve my mood and brain function.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
It's all connected. This research is truly exciting because it's revealing all of these really complex relationships between systems in our bodies that we once thought were totally separate.
Right, this is revolutionary stuff. It's like we've been looking at health all wrong for who knows how long.
Exactly. And it just highlights how important it is to have this holistic approach to health. You know, we can't view oral health as something separate from overall well-being anymore.
So it's about adopting a more integrated, big picture perspective.
Yes. It's where healthcare is heading, this more personalized, preventative, and holistic approach. Recognizing how interconnected our bodies truly are.
I love that. This deep dive has been incredible. We've covered so much, from the risks to the benefits to like the truly groundbreaking research happening right now in this field.
And don't forget the empowering message that we actually have more control over our brain health than we realize.
Absolutely. It's all about making those healthy, everyday choices, brushing, flossing, seeing our dentists, choices that can really impact our long-term cognitive well-being.
Exactly. Taking care of those pearly whites, it isn't just about a dazzling smile anymore. It's about a healthier, sharper mind.
Very well said. Before we wrap up, though, what's one thing that really surprised you about this research? Something that maybe made you rethink your own approach to oral health?
You know, what surprised me the most, I think, is the sheer breadth of the potential impact. You know, we're not just talking about cavities and gum disease here. We're talking about protecting our brains from some of the most challenging neurological conditions that we face today.
Yeah, it really is about so much more than we ever realized.
Right. And that's what I find so compelling about all of this research. It has the potential to completely change how we view oral health, making it just as important as heart health, as brain health.
Absolutely. It's about preserving our cognitive function, our memories, our very essence, really.
Beautifully said. And it's a message that's finally starting to resonate, I think. We're seeing a much greater emphasis on oral health education. There's more funding going into research. And there's this growing awareness of this crucial link between our mouths and our minds.
That's fantastic news. It sounds like we're on the verge of some major breakthroughs in this field.
We are. I'm really excited to see where this research takes us in the coming years. We're only just beginning to scratch the surface of understanding the full extent of the oral-brain connection.
Well, on that note of exciting possibilities, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, we want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. Knowing what we know now about this powerful connection between oral health and the brain, what's one thing you would challenge our listeners to do differently, starting today?
That's a fantastic question to end on. If I could leave our listeners with just one takeaway, it would be this. Don't underestimate the power of those small, everyday choices.
I love that. It's about taking those little steps consistently and how they can make a huge difference over time.
Exactly. So often we get caught up in the big, dramatic gestures, but Honestly, true health and well-being, it's built on those seemingly insignificant habits we cultivate day after day.
It's about brushing and flossing, not just because we have to, but because we're investing in the long-term health of our brains.
Precisely. Every time you pick up that toothbrush, remember, you're not just cleaning your teeth. You're nourishing your brain, protecting your cognitive function, and enhancing your overall well-being.
What a powerful thought to end on. It's a reminder that we have more control over our health destiny than we often realize.
Exactly. And that's a message worth spreading.
Absolutely. So, to our amazing listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of the oral-brain connection. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are feeling empowered to take charge of your own brain health.
It's been a pleasure sharing this knowledge with you.
And remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation. We encourage you to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those pearly whites sparkling for a healthier and sharper mind.